Elevate on Gagasi FM. It's a brand new week and we're ending off the month very nicely, hanging out with a Clermont-born and superstar, really a superstar. He's been on Joyous Celebration, done absolutely amazing things in the world of music, worked with the likes of Ubaba Umama Usibongile Khumalo and many other people. So I'm speaking about Coach Simphiwe, now known to abantu abaningi endaweni yaseThekwini. Simphiwe Khumalo is joining me right here on Elevate this week. Mtungwa, welcome to Elevate on Gagasi FM.
Mr. Khulekani Mbambo, sir.
How are you?
I'm good. It's a pleasure to be here on Elevate. I am excited.
Man, it's a pleasure having you on this chat and conversation. I remember having you on the show, one of the shows on Gagasi FM. I think it was a year ago,
Yes, sir.
A little over a year ago. Sikhuluma about your journey and many things that you've been through. Is it ohlangabezene nazo, and how you overcome certain things. Tell us about yourself growing up at Clermont. How was that life like? Ukhule esikomplazi, ukhule elokishini.
Ukukhula elokishini nje kuyafana nokukhula bona wonke amalokishi, you know. Kumnandi ukukhula elokishini, but kukhona la kuleka khona culture. In as much as there is culture, but akufani nokukhulela emakhaya. Uyabona where there is i-discipline ethile, you know, nezinto uyavuka uyalusa, uyabona ubuthunye uhamba uyohlakula wenza into enjengalezo. Elokishini mangabe uye esikoleni, when you come back there's nothing to do. You know, there's nothing to do. You have a lot of time in your hands. So a lot of people get lost because, you know, it's not like multiracial, no suburbs, so to speak, where abantu benama extramurals ezikoleni, and there's a lot of things that they do. They have programs. So in townships, except from formal education, there are no programs for young people. So, but ngomusa kaNkulunkulu, I got saved in 1998 when I was doing matric, right? But before that, I had already started my journey with music. So I would come back from school and go kwakusana lento yamakwaya, which is gone now. Now it's not there, you know. If it wasn't for the church, right? Go manje lento yamakwaya, the environment yasemasontweni, it bridged that gap because amakwaya then sekwama worship teams now. You know what I mean? But nakhona awekho as active as amakwaya were, because we were rehearsing from Monday to Friday, performing on a Saturday, performing on a Sunday, rehearsing Monday to Friday, like it was a culture. You know what I mean? So abanye, they used to play soccer, abanye, they used to do that and whatnot. So there was some form of activities, but they were not as formal. You know what I mean? You know, so I did wish at some point in my life, the way they speak the language, rich, you know what I mean? They have a different mindset. There are disciplines that are instilled by going out to uyolusa before uye esikoleni. You know, umuntu uyazihlambe uvuka ngabo 3 noma ngabo 4:30 useyahamba uyolusa, uyabuya esikoleni, maybe uyabuya ulanda inkomo, uyabona le nto, emasimini nogogo and what. So all of those things I was never exposed to them because nokuzalwa kwami ngizalele eClermont, ikhaya likababa ngalazi. But ubaba wayekhona, washona nga9 years though, you know, babeshadile noma ngakhulela wasemafakatini. I only got to actually know her side of the family after she passed on in 2011. You know, so I was not exposed to into yasemakhaya and whatnot. So it's good and bad ukhulela elokishini, you know, because even the mindset yokukhulela elokishini, ayinayo into yokuthi you're looking forward to building your life ngama steps athile. It's all about, you know, quick fix into yaselokishini. Love out, uphume khoneni ngala, you know, uphume, you know, it's you know, I fundisi that resilience, you know, patience to build, to start something, you know, and go for something, to become something. You know.
Tell me, you now grow up elokishini, but you managed to find your way out. We are Puma. In terms of music.
In terms of music,
you end up now working with all these great people. Jiggy, Joyous Celebration. For 7 years. Now. How does that happen?
Okay, so elokishini kwakunamakwaya, and then kwakuba nama competitions and all of that, you know, and concerts. So Usibongiseni Umpele used to come there, and then there's a lady ebizwa ngoNtombi. She used to go to Christian Center, Clermont.
Okay.
Right. So she was a praise and worship leader there. and she also used to go to ML Sultan. So they used to have something called freshers for new students
Okay.
at the university, right? So lapho kuma freshers, it was sort of into Christian Idlenduzana SCO, right? That was handling that. So there was praise and worship and whatnot. So the musical director, they happened to be Ngubeko while he was studying music, right?
Okay.
And the likes. So there was a cream of the crop when it comes to the guys that were actually at school at the time, right? So Untombi actually secured a spot for me and my choir to come there. That is where Mr. Ngubeko Mbata saw me, and ever since he saw me, he wanted to work with me. You know, he wanted to work with me. And on this side, Mr. Sibongiseni Mbele, he would come to Claremont and see me, Gila Panagma choir and whatnot. And then they happened to be in Joburg at the same time.
Yeah.
In 2005. So Mr. Sibongiseni Mbele actually got a job for me to come and be a music minister at a church. While Ngubeko was looking for me to come and be a member of Joy Celebration, to come and do auditions.
Okay.
So this is happening
At the
same time, right? So this side, Mr. Mpele is calling me. This side, Ngubeko is calling me, right? So mind you, I'm not friends with them. I don't know anybody in Joburg, right? I'm serving at church at the time. I'm serving at church, so church is my comfort zone and whatnot. And I'm doing music for free. It's like
Out of the love of
out
it
of the
and-
love
and-
of
and
it.
worshiping God.
Yeah, because then I was saved already. This is 2005, and I got born again in 1998, right? So I went to Joburg. I went to the church. They loved me, and then I went to do auditions for Joy Celebration. Right, only 2 of us came in that year. It was me, and actually 3 of us. It was me. It was Mr. Khulekani Mbambo and Pastor Patrick Duncan.
Patrick, I remember Patrick.
Yeah, yes. You know, so it was an amazing experience, but transition was not easy for me because remember, Joy Celebration is a professional environment and it's not a church.
It's a big environment.
It's a big environment, you know. You have a lot of people who are coming in and out. You know, it's a proper production. Now, before that, I had never been exposed to a production. You know, it was just church, me and the keyboard. You know, I'm the one. Yeah. I'm the sound engineer. I'm playing the keyboard. I'm singing at the same time. You know, I'm. you know, my microphone my keyboard. There's no budget. Umfundi zifuna khade on Sunday. At the end of the day, this thing must cry. It doesn't care what's going on. So you're becoming the fixer as well.
Yeah.
You know, you have to crack this window because there's no budget to take these things somewhere. So you can't, you know. So now I'm coming into this environment. You got white people, Indians running around, you know, professionals, you know.
Everything is proper.
Everything is proper. It's like a production of more than 50 people, you know. So it's the rehearsals and whatnot. So it really, really, Joy Celebration is an institution. But nothing preps you for getting into that platform in terms of personal development. You know what I mean? You're coming from this into this platform. Nothing prepares you for exposure. Nothing prepares you for the business aspect of it. You know, you don't have a what do they call it, a manager. You don't have no manager. You know, you're the one who's actually negotiating your own fees. You don't even know how to charge. You know, you even feel wrong about charging because you're coming from church and church is telling you, you're not supposed to be charging people. This is God's work. Yes.
Freely given, freely thy shall give. So why are you charging these people?
Right. You know, so you are in between 2 worlds now. You know, you feel like you are losing value if you are charging. You know what I mean? You know, when you're receiving money because of the same thing that you are told, which you're not supposed to be receiving money when you're doing this. You know, so it messes your mind up. You know, but then you're getting money, you're getting paid. You know, you don't even, financial management is not there. You know, you're all on your own. You have moved from home where there's elders, there's a community, there's a church, and you are alone.
There's
now
accountability.
There's accountability, basically. You know, now you are all by yourself. You know, you have to make your own decisions. There's an element of freedom there that you didn't have. You didn't even know you needed. You know what I mean? You know, so now you're coming in and out in your own apartment, you know, introduced to new people, new friends, new mindset. In Joburg, people think different. You know, Cape Town, people think different. You can only be there to be exposed to how other people think in other provinces. You know what I mean? So all of that was a challenge because there is no formal personal development prior to that I had ever embarked on.
Tell me now about the influences of the city, the influences of all of these things coming into your life, and you're not prepared for them.
Yeah.
You once talked about your addictions,
Yes,
and
yes.
how you got addicted. I wanna get into that now. How did you actually get addicted? Did you see when you were doing these things, you would say, I'm now getting addicted to this?
Not necessarily. I started drinking as there was peer pressure, right? I'm coming into this environment. Ngangenawo abangane engizothi they are not Christians, right? So you're coming into this environment, the doctrine is different. Here are these people that are casual drinkers, bayathandaza ngeilimi. We go to church, or in fact, probably at that time, there's a church that was called My Father's House, right? The pastor was American. So most of the guys from Joyous, we used to go to that church, right? Also, the pastor there, he's on whiskey, cigars, you know, you know, you know, and the professionals there in a men's ministry, you know, after the men's ministry, they're sipping on wine and whatnot. And
It's
before,
a culture shock.
it's a culture shock, you know. I was shocked, and I had never had a drop of alcohol before that in my entire life. I hated alcohol, right, because of what it did to my brothers, my own bloodline, right. And the idea of alcohol was different. It was into yasemathaveni, abantu abawumataputaka, abantu abahlulekayo. Now you're talking about people who are driving Range Rovers, 7 Series, Porsche, you know. These guys that we used to go with at church, these are rich guys.
aspire to these
Yes, you know. So even that was a shock to me, that the idea of an alcoholic, well, let me not say an alcoholic, a drinker, someone who drinks alcohol. It is someone oyemathaven, ongalali, who's not married, you know, ohlulekayo, and all of those things. But now I'm seeing another different side of, you know, these are people, they go to church, they read scriptures, they pray, they love God, they're sipping on wine, whiskey, cigars, and whatnot. They are married, they have, you know. So this, I don't even have the correct vocabulary in terms of how shocked I was, you know, because my idea of not drinking alcohol was not on the basis of the conviction of scriptures. It was on the basis of what I saw growing up, at home and around, you know. So this was not.
So it was a personal decision.
It was-
ngenxa yokubona
Exactly.
abafowenu nasendaweni ukubona ukuthi
Exactly.
these are the type of people who are drinking.
Exactly.
And these are the type of people engingafuni mina ukuba yibona.
Exactly. You know. So for 3 years in Joburg, I'm not drinking, but I'm exposed to this. Right? You know, whenever we're chilling at the house, we used to move from house to house, you know, visiting each other as friends and whatnot, you know. There was always alcohol around me. But I'm around Christians. It's braai, it's after church, you know. We go somewhere after church. We go somewhere, we're chilling, there's wine and all of those things, you know. Up until 3 years later, I started tasting wine, and it felt good. Right? Remember, I had never had a drop of
sip of alcohol.
Yeah, you know, in my life. And when you see other people doing it and you've never done it, you do not know what it does to you, right? So that taught me a lot. It taught me, when I look at something from the outside,
Yeah.
I have to be compassionate. I must never say, just because someone is failing where I am strong, regard them as losers. You know, just because that is not my weakness. So that is the lesson that I learned from that. So I had a glass of wine, and even the setup, you know. So this guy, who's a big executive in Johannesburg, invites us over. It's me and my friends. I'm not gonna no
don't
names,
mention.
right? You know, and my friend over. So it's him and his wife, another friend of his and his wife, and and then his kids, and then me and my friend. So it's a very intimate setup, you know. So his wife cooked for us and whatnot. It's a serious estate here, you know. And we're chilling. He has a wine cellar. His house is beautiful. He had just purchased this house, you know. So he's showing us around. He has a wine cellar and whatnot. And I had never been into this kind of setup before, you know. So after, as we are eating dinner table, so there's wine bottles here, and I was telling this wine, how many years and whatnot. You know what I mean? So now I tell them. So my friend had been exposed to alcohol before, but not me. So when I told them that I had never had alcohol before, they actually laughed at me. You know. But there was no. Remember, this is 3 years later, so this pressure was building, and also my mind, you know, was changing a bit by
It was
bit.
starting to assimilate to the
Exactly,
culture.
exactly. You know. Long story short, I had a glass of alcohol that day, of red wine, right? Not one glass. I think it was 3, probably a bottle of wine.
Talking from 0 to 100.
You know, you know. So, you know, coming back to my place, I puked. You know, the deal the following day hung over, but then it took me another 6 months after that to have another sip of wine
Alcohol.
of alcohol, right? But then it started. You know, the virginity had been broken. You know, so I started. Then it became every other week, then it became every other weekend, then it became every weekend. But I was still a casual drinker. I was not drinking to really get drunk, you know.
Take me to the point where now it gets to an uncontrollable state where
Right.
you are now forced to drink because of this addiction.
Right. So now this is 2011 now, right? So I started drinking. So 2005, 6, 7. I started drinking 2007, toward the end of 2007. So now this is 2011. I lose my mother, right? And my sister gets depressed. She passes away a month later. I'm already a casual drinker, right? So I could not take the pain of losing my mother and my sister a month apart. Right.
So alcohol was an escape now for you.
Now alcohol had already taken root in my life. Right. I kind of like felt like alcohol actually replaced the pillars of prayer, because I love the word of God. I read the word of God, I pray a lot and all of those things, right? But because for you to actually, you know, do something, there is something that you actually, you know, that you forsake,
Yeah.
in a sense, you know. So I felt like
Sacrifice.
yeah, that you sacrifice. So I felt like the time that I used to spend reading the word, praying a lot, you know, and searching and listening to sermons and whatnot, you know, it got compromised, you know, because now I'd go out with friends, we come back 12-1, you know, and all of those things, you know. So when I lost my mother and my sister, that took me out. You know, I had no energy to pray. You know, I'm not one of those guys who are like blaming God. God, why did you do this? No, like God is God. I can never question God. It's just that the pain was too much. You know, and it was sudden. Even my mother, she got sick around 9 a.m. and they called me, and I was at the studio, and then around 11:45, she passes away. You know. You know, so all of this, nothing prepped me. It's not like she was sick for a very long time. You know, so when we buried my sister, after that, there is a friend of mine who's also here, right? He came to me and he was like, "Hey, yo, bro," and whatnot. We went somewhere else, you know, and we stayed with the guys, and there was alcohol there. I drank and I passed out. That was the first time I drank and passed out. But then from that day, every time I would drink and pass out. But my passing out is not like I'm passing out and I'm sleeping. I would pass out and I'm still awake.
But you're not in your right
But
mind.
I'm yeah, you know. So then it became every day. You know, I became a strong alcoholic in a very short space of time. I was drinking every day. I lost credibility. I lost friends. I lost jobs. I lost, because we'd prepare and rehearse for something. Come game day,
Awusatholakala.
I'm tholakali, lost my phone, and I'm waking up like coming back into my senses like 3 days later, and I'm thinking, yo, this is like I had a gig on the 20th. This is the 25th. What happened? So I lost everything, man. Car getting repossessed. I lost my apartment with everything inside. When I came back to Durban, I had nothing. I had one pair of trousers, a short, and a T-shirt. That's all I had.
There's a recent study, Dungwa esithi South Africa is one of the leading countries in terms of number of people who are depressed and who have anxiety.
Right.
Do you think that you being depressed and being anxious of the future after the passing of your mom and sister in the space of a month, do you think it's the one thing that pushed you towards a lot of alcohol? And if so, what does South Africa and perhaps abanye abantu abasha need to do to handle alcohol and to handle stress and anxiety a bit better?
I think that's a big question. I don't even know where to start, right? Because I don't want to blame, because I had already started drinking before this thing happened, right? So I think for us, especially the black race, we have a very bad relationship with alcohol. And I think we have to admit that. We have a seriously bad relationship with alcohol and drugs, right? So, but now coming back to your question, I think also the fact that we do not have structures, there are structures, but we are not introduced, Tina, as black people, to structures that actually deal with mental health problems. Like the first time I realized there's something called stress and depression, it is when it took my sister. Because thina bekuthiwa uma ngabe umuntu uthi une-stress noma ulele uphethwe ikhanda uthi unama-moods lo akavuka clean. Yabona? That's exactly how I felt because usisi wami ngabe wagula washayeka phansi, right, wa-admit esibhedlela. And we're like, kwenzakani lo ngoba sonke sishonele umama nje. Sefuna sinakena. That's how ignorant we were. Ukuthi this person is actually under depression. I realized when she passed away.
It was stress.
The contact to depression, I was not, even though I knew the word depression, right? But I did not know depression as something that can take someone's life. As something that can cause a specific behavior. You know what I mean? So Tina, as a black race, we still need to actually introduce ourselves to professional structures. People who deal with professionally would deal with these things, because Tina, our to go to is pastors for everything.
And for Nalapo, we go to them and we tell them 10% of the story.
Exactly.
We hide 90%.
We hide, yes.
And we pray, hope, and wish for a miracle.
Yes, because the environment has not been created so that we come there and be naked. You feel like just before you get any other solution, you're going to get judged. If you tell your pastor, okay, I'm under porn addiction.
Is there judgment in churches?
Man, there is judgment in churches. What? You know that yourself. There is judgment in churches. It comes in many shapes and forms, but there is judgment in churches. You don't even know whether you have to confess something to someone and what exactly. So it's also a situation like that, because these are things that if we were candid and we have these conversations before they become personal, right? If we have these conversations generally in churches, we have a safe space where we can talk about. Remember, I was saved when I was 17 years. So I had a lot of time to be prepared for life. But there was nothing of that sort in terms of preparing me with, okay, when you get exposed to women,
this is how you respond.
This is how you respond.
Yeah.
Temptation was regarded as something that comes from the outside. then I had a problem when temptation comes from the inside.
I want to know now. You battled not only one, but other addictions as well.
Yeah,
On top of this one.
sexual addiction, and alcohol and drug. I was not exposed to drugs, so I've never done drugs. I did not smoke. I tried and I failed. I think my lungs were weak, whatever the case may be, or maybe I didn't like it. I did like alcohol, and I loved sex. So all of these things were going hand in hand, because even the environments where you'd go, clubs and whatnot, and all of these environments, there has to be women. It has to be alcohol and women. That is where the satisfaction is at. So I got exposed to a lot of sex and masturbation. I was addicted to that as well. So, hey man, it was a struggle, because I never had people that I'd go to and talk about these things. Because everyone, maybe I need to, and I'd think, yo, ngizomqala ngaphi?
Uzongijaja. Ngizothi ngimtshela athi nje isono lesi. Idemoni mfana wami lela selikhiphe.
Before kudilwe nalento kuzoqala kudilwe nalento ukuthi kufanele uhlale phansi. And that is called, because you have to remember, what is serving in church creates a specific mindset. When you are serving a church, you shouldn't be doing this. Things that you should be doing, things that you shouldn't be doing.
And it paints a picture to the people that you are serving.
Yeah. Yes.
They're expectant of a particular behavior.
Yes. So it for me, I learned a lot of lessons, man. The culture in the church, the conversations we're not having, the conversations we're avoiding. It's like we're not living in this world. We only go there just to have that dosage of whatever it is, and then we come back into the real world.
And we struggle for 6 days, and we go back for another dose.
Exactly. Even social setups for us that are safe for us to actually come and talk. You know what? I don't know how many men's ministries I've attended. I don't remember addressing one real issue in those men's ministries.
Kukhulunywa ngokuthi nje seninayo imali sikhona inkomo shadani phela.
Yeah, we never talk about what is your struggle. Like what are you struggling?
What needs to be done? How do we navigate ourselves to real conversations in terms of church now? How do we navigate ourselves to those points where we are candid about these conversations? Do you think activities and programs outside of Sunday service might work?
I think we do. And I also believe that the kingdom of God has a lot of resources, right? And a lot of professionals that are in the house. But they don't have a platform to actually do what they are graced to do. Everything is expected to be done by a pastor. I believe that all of these people that are called into different spaces, if the church can realize, we need to. I believe this every time when I'm reading the scriptures, I feel like we are not doing justice in terms of the kingdom mindset and kingdom systems that we should build. I believe that the best musician has to be hired by the church. The best psychiatrist has to be hired by the church. The best lawyer has to be hired by the church. I'm talking about the best engineer has to be hired by the church. Every time when I look at the church, for us to actually be innovative and set trends, we need to take over systems. But we can't take over systems if we don't recognize systems. I believe that pastors have a huge responsibility, because people are not, I don't know whether people are not stepping up, or it's the culture, that was created, or whatever the case may be. But I believe that if we can, because the church system works, right? Because I'm here today because of the church. I got out of this situation because of the church. I got delivered because of the church. So I cannot say the church is not playing a role. But what I'm saying is that for us to actually have real conversations, we need people who are trained to handle the questions that we have.
Simphiwe Khumalo, ladies and gentlemen, from Joy Celebration, working with so many people, having battled an issue of sexual addiction
Yeah.
and alcohol addiction
Yeah.
and masturbation addiction as well. So
Yeah.
he is one person who can have a conversation with you and let you know that you can elevate from whatever point of darkness, from whatever pit you might be in, you can elevate. Maphuma, ungadlula kuleso simo odlula kusona. You have another project now, Ikipile, Start Over project.
Yeah.
What is that message to the people, the Start Over
Oh
project?
man, I'm glad you asked. So after being delivered from alcohol, right? And I have to tell this story, maybe just a bit briefly. That I did not go to a rehab. I was tired of doing this thing, and I had a sincere prayer in my head. I didn't even utter the words of the prayer. I was like, Lord, I am tired of this life. If you still have anything for me, deliver me. It was more of a thought than anything. And then all of a sudden, I lost the desire. It was like something was lifted off me.
The burden.
The burden of going to this thing all the time. And I'm chilling with friends. There's alcohol here. They pour me a glass. I don't feel like taking this glass and drinking. And then the following day, so this was the whole night, and they're checking me with a bro. Now they are out.
Right.
When everyone is drunk and you're ondo and sober, you are the weirdo.
Yeah.
So they see with this guy, and then the following day I'm like, okay, guys, let me go and whatnot. Bese ngihamba ngiyodlala isnooker khona ngidlala kuyona isnooker, and then ngithenga inguthu ubeer.
Yeah.
Kubela ngithi ngiyawuphuza lo beer and actually feel the taste of beer, the actual taste of beer. The first time when you drink beer, that's the taste that I felt. I was like, yeah, imbi kanje lento. And then uMoya Ngcwele ministered to me ukuthi I have lifted the burden and whatever it is that makes you go to it. What brought you here now is the habitual part of it, and that is your responsibility.
Yeah.
I left that pool table and that beer there 9 years ago.
And you never look back.
I never looked back. And I was delivered because I don't like, it's like I've never drank alcohol in my life. Even when I see it, I don't thirst for it. I don't desire alcohol. So I was delivered from that. 3 months later, I was delivered from sex. It's amazing. So back to what was your question? Because I wanted to.
How does one start over? Because I don't
Right.
Start Over project.
Right.
How does one actually start over now in our
Right.
opinion?
So now, after being delivered from that, remember that we are here for a purpose, right? So if you are doing something that you are not supposed to be doing, it means you're not doing what you should be doing, right? So God actually got me into a space of developing myself, personal development.
Yeah.
So then I went on to personal development heavy, reading, listening to a lot of content on YouTube, health. I maximized on fitness every day. I got excited by doing a lot of other things, man. Reading and all of that, and new relationships as well. Because when you stop drinking, it's not about stopping drinking. It's about changing a lot of things.
Yeah.
Your phone is ringing every day. All of a sudden, your phone is not ringing. Because people realize this guy's a he's always at church and whatnot and whatnot. Even the setups. Usufika kumabhaya angenatshwala and you're like, yo.
Ngabe khona i-vibe ekhona la.
Like so, then your mind shifts because you don't move from this level to this level and start enjoying it immediately. It takes some fine tuning, getting used to it, adapting, dealing with your mind all of the time, And so I basically started over because it was over with my life. I did not have gigs, you know. Nobody was calling me, you know. I did not have any income, you know. So I started over. I prayed. I was seeking the Lord all the time, you know. But all of this because now I also people don't believe that you're not doing what you say you're not doing anymore.
Yeah.
You know, let alone people not believing you don't even believe yourself, which you're not drinking anymore until it's 6 months, and you're like, yo, bro, you're not drinking.
It's been 6 months.
It's been 6 months.
Been a year.
Yeah, you're not having sex. It's been, you know, when I hit 3 years without sex, I felt like a superhero. I was like, yo, I am Superman. Like, you know, 5 years without sex. Like, without sex, no masturbation, nothing. I felt like a superhero. I was like, yo, I am doing it. You know?
And it goes to say, Umalitizwi, he will lift the burden from your shoulders and the yoke will be broken.
Yes,
off you.
sir. Yes, sir.
So when that yoke was broken, when that burden was lifted, really you could now start afresh and start over.
Yes.
And I believe that your life is a testament even today to anyone who's struggling in any way
Yes.
in life to say, can I start over?
Exactly.
Simphiwe is sibonelo today to you to say whatever it is that I'm facing, whatever it is that I'm battling with, as a young person, I don't have to say bonke abantu abasha bayaphuza njengami, bonke abantu abasha babhekene nale nkinga yokuthanda ucansi, of being addicted to it njengami. You don't have to say akusimina ngedwa. You can step out. You can say not for me. This ain't my portion. Lokhu akungifanele mina. And I believe as we are speaking even today, any anointing can come to any place, even from you as you are watching right now, and break any yoke, take any burden away from you, and lift anything. You can elevate. Even now, even today, you can elevate. So, Simphiwe Khumalo, I'd like to end it off there for today. It felt like 5 minutes, but yo! Kwaze kwamnandi. It's Elevate right here on Gagasi FM, and these are the conversations we want to have from you and want to have with you as well, to elevate you and to help you elevate impilo yakho, lift yourself up from whatever it is. Ngisho ngabe udaka olungakanani nobunzima obungakanani, we are here to tell you that you can elevate.